Hi, everybody, and welcome to episode 5 of Connect the Dots. I'm James Tickner, and I lead the food and beverage practice at Connect Search. We're a global search firm based out of the UK, specialising in food and beverage, ingredients and flavours, grocery retail, and personal care. Now, for today's episode, we are talking about innovation and sustainability in the food industry. And it's my absolute pleasure to introduce an SME on the subject, Kimberly Delagori Carino. Hi, Kimberly.
Hi, James.
Kimberly is a global marketing and innovation director with 17 years experience from the world-leading food and beverage company Danone. And most recently, she was the global brand innovation director for their plant-based division. So hi, Kimberly, again. First of all, great to see you. And thank you again for joining us and taking part in Connect the Dots.
Well, thank you very much for having me, James, and I'm really looking forward to this. I can't stop talking about innovation and sustainability, so I'm really pleased to be able to do that.
Excellent. No, thank you. So let's get started. So first question, as an expert in product innovation and brand marketing, what excites you about working within this field?
What doesn't excite me? I think I can describe it in two elements that excite me most. One is from a content perspective, i.e., innovation is the job that really connects you to the consumer, to their needs, to their wants, even needs and wants they're not even aware of. It translates market trends to get it to the wider public. So you cannot sit on your laurels. It's a continuous change and a continuous development and evolution of your work in order to make sure that not only as a brand you're well ahead, but that you actually meet consumer needs. So it's a little window, a sneak peek in what is to come, a window in the thinking of consumers. It's just a very exciting world that is in continuous move. So that, I think, is the one thing that excites me from a content perspective, and more from a technical perspective. Innovation is one of those jobs that really is not about one function. It's, I think, the one job that really creates a cooperation, deep cooperation between so many functions within the company. So it's a very cooperative job where you have to think about involving people from supply chain, because obviously the ingredients you buy, the suppliers themselves have information, have their own trends that they see and that they can share. It's about operations, what is possible in the lines, what is not possible, finance, obviously, does it make sense, marketing, legal, you name it. Every single function in the company has a role to play. So this is teamwork in the purest sense of the word, and I think that's what's most exciting. I think it's really getting that expertise from different angles that really feeds your own imagination and your own capabilities and your own expertise.
Excellent. And what do you think are the key trends in innovation that will impact the food industry for years to come?
Well, I think one is already mentioned in the introduction. This is about sustainability, and I think there's two big elements, because there's so many trends, James, that sometimes you don't even know what to tap into, and it's exciting for us because there's so many opportunities and possibilities. But I think you can really sort of group them in two main topics that are then interrelated again. So what I see as main trends is sustainability, because it's front page every day by now, thank God. But also health, especially after the COVID scare. People are more and more conscious about health. People are more aware about the link between food and their health, and how much of a role food actually plays in your personal health. So these are two big topics under which quite a lot of innovation is linked or is grouped. And within that, I can already mention one that I've been working in, which is plant-based. And you might think, oh God, we've known that, it's been there for a while, it's not a trend anymore. Absolutely true. It's been there for a long time. But it was before, if you think about it, it was for intolerant people. It was boring. It was disgusting, let's be honest. So it was very unexciting. And what you see now is that plant-based is really getting into every sector, into, you know, the entire food supply. And think about, you know, we moved from milk, where it stayed for such a long time, to yogurts, to meats, to fish, to even eggs, to you name it. Today, plant-based is omnipresent. And there's a lot of things happening, like different bases. First it was soy, then it was soy and nuts, then now it's pulses, hemp. So there's a lot of things happening in that world. And I think we even scratched the surface. We haven't seen the end of it yet. It's not a fad. It's really a trend that's here to stay, to also answer to the two elements that I discussed about. One is sustainability, because we know that, you know, animal agriculture takes about 50% of CO2. It's all the transportation combined. It's not sustainable. So this is one of the answers. And health. Plant-based is very much linked to health. Or inversely, you might say, you know, animal-based products are starting to get negatively linked to health. So it answers to both. And that's why I think it's the trend. Having said that, taste is an issue, and that takes me to the second trend. As I said, we are making huge strides in taste, and I really personally believe that we're really good at getting there and really meeting the expectations. But there's always a taste gap between what you expect, especially if you talk about replacements, meat replacement, dairy replacement. So people in their head think, oh, okay, it's going to be the same. It's never going to be the same. So you need to celebrate it for what it is. Instead of trying to replace. What is possible to replace is actually the proteins, the dairy-based protein. And this is the second trend that I believe is here to stay. And that is everything that is precision fermentation. That's something different from cell-based. What you see in meat, precision fermentation is really using ferments, what we already use in cheese, for example, with microorganisms, like yeast, to re-mimic the proteins that you can find in animal-based. Like in cheese, that would be casein and whey. So if you can mimic it, what then happens is that you can actually mimic the taste and mimic the texture. Because taste is one thing, texture, you know, the gooey cheese or the firm cheese, there's so many different textures that we can simply not mimic today yet on plant-based. So precision fermentation, keep track of that. You will see it more and more and more. You will hear it more and more and more. I think it's definitely a solution for difficult things to crack, like cheese. So definitely a big thing there. What else? I think, again, very much related to sustainability, and I'm a firm fan of that, is everything that's circularity. So we toss away 1/3 of our global food production. That is mind-blowing, especially if we know that, you know, there's so many increasing number of people to feed. That is unsustainable. And this is just food, but we're talking fashion mountains everywhere that are springing up. So fashion industry is also very much into a circularity, or even buildings. So circularity is something that is starting to really grab the attention and being more widely known. So if you think about food, think about using the waste of one product and making a different product from it. So if you look at the chocolate industry, for example, fantastic chocolate, we use the beans, we don't do anything with the pulp. More and more industries or more brands are now tapping into, well, actually the pulp is delicious, it's sweet, it's nutritive, so why can't we make a lemonade out of that? So you get drinks out of pulp, or you can use the pulp for sugar instead of another sweetener. You see discarded fruit and veg where they are used to make snacks instead of chips. You see it in the restaurants, you know, there's a list of restaurants that you can now look up that use discarded fruit and veg. So, and so on and so forth. So the idea of circularity, I think, is definitely here to stay. Okay. One that cannot be forgotten, I have to mention that, sorry, and I will go on and on because I see so many trends, but one that I think we should really not forget is plastic. We know that we have a huge problem. Plastic production is still increasing. We have plastic soups everywhere. Everybody is aware. Still, it's a big problem. And so, yes, we recycle or we use recycled plastic. So what you see in many brands today is that they use even up to 100% recycled plastic. But I think we need to go well beyond that. So either compostable, a paper-based, But even forget about packaging. Can we do bulk? Can we tap our yogurt? Or, what we do sometimes with nuts, you can see it with pastas. Now we're going to get there in granolas. You see that especially the retailers are tapping into this. I think we need to go further in that. And that is definitely a trend that you will continue seeing to try and resolve the big plastic problem that we find ourselves in. Social sourcing as well. I'm from, I live in the Netherlands. I'm half Dutch. I think it's in the UK as well. It's getting bigger and bigger. I don't know if you ever heard of Tony Chocolonely.
Yes.
Well, there you go. So this is a typical trend, tapping into a trend of social responsibility. We are getting increasingly aware that our luxury, our taste, our preferences, our convenience is actually costing somebody else. It's his or her convenience, or even lives at some stages. Fashion is terrible. We have modern slavery. We have child labor. Again, something that we're opening our eyes to. And brands like Tony Chocolonely, who actually set out, that was their principal reason to launch the brand, was to solve modern slavery and child labor. So we see more and more brands tapping into it, or big companies tapping into that communication of the smaller brands. So that's definitely another one. And I think one more, because now I'm talking only about sustainability, one more that it goes to health. I think that everything personalized is going to be a big trend. More and more aware about the connection food and health. We can now personalize food to our needs, to our gut microbiome, whatever you have. But I think this idea of personalized, that you can deliver by home, so you can get whatever you need at the tailored quantities and nutritional content delivered at your doorstep. I think that's also going to be a trend that we see increasingly.
And I'm already seeing that in sort of the pet industry as well, personalised diets for your pets.
Absolutely.
Over the news, not the news, the adverts. So yeah, it's a big industry.
Pet food is always interesting to look at. Interestingly enough, they're quite advanced in many elements. Yeah.
Excellent. So if we move on to the barriers, then what would you say are the biggest barriers to innovation in the industry?
So I think it boils down to one huge barrier, and I'm not saying that's the only one, but I think it's the main one, and otherwise I'll keep talking for hours. I think price is the main barrier, and it sounds very simple, but it encompasses many things. And I will start with what it means for the consumer. So what you see in many reports, it's so encouraging, and I'm not a very pessimistic person, but I also do caution to these, messages that 60% of the people look for more sustainable products. 73% of Gen Z is willing to pay more for the product. There's something that is called the say-do gap. So all these figures are declarative, and people really want to, but when they have to sacrifice their, portefeuille, so basically their wallet, or their convenience, or they perceive it not as healthy, they will not choose it. And especially price, and I will go back to the wallet part, for very good reasons, especially now, people are not willing to pay more. And what you see is that results in saying I want to, but when point comes to shove on the shelf, very few people are choosing the sustainable option at a higher price.
Yeah.
And a lot of it's a say-do gap also has to do with a lack of information. Many companies or institutions are not able to communicate clearly, so people really also don't know how they can improve their footprint. But price is one of these big topics that is still a bit of a stopper. And that, again, and I will come to the second part. So first is the consumer, but when you look at it from a production point of view, why is it more expensive? Because it's so easy to say, well, you should price it down. Yes, you should. But the fact of the matter is that the raw material today, how weird that may sound, is more expensive when it's sustainable. So when I looked at first at packaging, I was, it blew my mind to know that recycled plastic was more expensive than virgin plastic. Glass is more expensive than plastic. When you look at things to loop it, so reuse, it's more expensive to get that system going. So organic is more expensive than non-organic. Plant-based today is more expensive than dairy or animal-based. Why? Because of simple supply demand. We're not there. It's coming, but we need to ramp up the volumes. We need to ramp up the technology, and hence, as long as we have not done that, and we're not at that huge level of, let's say, the more traditional agriculture. We're not going to see the prices at the same level. And you come even back to things like subsidies, and there's so many elements that are involved in that. So that is from a supply perspective, and therefore the price also increases. Now, then you come to a third point, because you could say, okay, it's more expensive, lower margin, because we need to move, right? And then you come into the complex system of short-term shareholder value. Very complex topic. Obviously, you see more and more the call of going from short-term shareholder value to longer-term stakeholder value, also because we see increasingly that there is a risk of not doing anything in the longer term, so there will be value. But today it's still very much short-term. So when, even in my job as a director in innovation, one of the topics was always be accretive. With all your innovation, you need to be accretive, and that is very, very difficult. So a lot of beautiful projects never see the day of light because they don't make financial sense for the P&L. And it's as simple as that. So either you translate that into the price of the consumers, and then you go back to number one. People are not always willing to pay for more for it. So the volumes drop. So you're out of the shelf, et cetera, et cetera. So it's sort of a loop that you get into.
Yeah, I think especially the economic climate at the moment, when you're shopping, you're looking at the price difference. People are struggling, so you will opt for the lower cost good, despite your thoughts and your beliefs. It's just
absolutely. I'm trying to go plastic free. All the things in bars are more expensive. Shampoo in bars, dishwasher in bars, and it's hard to understand as a consumer why, and that's something we need to be much better at.
Thank you. So how important is innovation for sustainable development in the industry?
I think it's the key. I think only through innovation will we get to sustainability in the industry, because innovation is everywhere. You look at the beginning of the supply chain, you get the Internet of Things or artificial intelligence to improve the efficiency of water usage, or improve the efficiency of the land, or even regenerative. There's a lot of things we can do with technology to optimize all these systems. Then you look at biotech and ingredients, new ingredients to optimize for example, the cattle feed. That then will reduce, either deforestation, or it can reduce the methane, or by using algae. So there's a lot of things to do even from the beginning of the supply chain. Then you have everything that has to do with even replacing, as I said, the biotech with the precision fermentation. That's all innovation. So that gives a solution again. The thinking about innovation of ingredients, there's so many untapped ingredients today that are nutritionally extremely rich, especially in the plant-based world, but it's everywhere. So again, innovation in that. Innovation in packaging, we talked about it. Today we need to innovate continuously. Innovation in transportation, think about that. So again, AI to understand how can you optimize transportation. And then obviously you have all the innovation in the transportation world, be it whatever, electric or anything that is in that innovation. So food and innovation is so intricately linked with innovation in every single element of that very complex and long supply chain. So ask me how important is innovation to sustainability of food. It's the basic.
Yeah. Perfect. Thank you. So if we move on to sustainability more, how does sustainability drive that customer loyalty in this market?
I think that's a very interesting question because, again, I think there's a bit of a say-do gap. There's a lot of different opinions there. It's very hard to say something. It's my opinion, and I'm sure once I phrase this, there are many people who completely disagree. But the point is, if you look at reports, again, a bit like the 70% of people are willing to pay more, you see reports as, the sustainable brands have 62% more loyalty. There's many statistics that show that there might be even double-digit growth because of loyalty in the more sustainable brands compared to the less sustainable brands. The fact is, though, sometimes they're fairly niche. In addition, as I said, I think when you look at the pyramid of what is important to people, it's health, price, convenience, and somewhere comes sustainability. Even today, if you talk about sustainable products, health comes first. Even for plant-based, why do you eat plant-based? It's healthy. Sustainability always lags behind. So for sustainable brands to create an increased loyalty at a wider scale than those, religiously sustainable cohort of people, which wonderful, but it's still a small cohort. To be able to actually get that wider, I think what is necessary is to make sure that it doesn't entail any sacrifices. So yes, you can increase your loyalty if your price is the same, if the convenience is not deteriorated. So if all those things in the pyramid are met, then it can make a difference. But sustainable in and of itself only is not something that I believe will necessarily increase loyalty. Taste, by the way, is the first thing that taste, price, convenience, health. So I need to be careful there. I personally am careful. So yes, it has an impact. It has a positive impact, but only if you meet the basic pyramidal needs of the consumer. And I, just I'm sorry, I'm thinking out loud, but you connect the Gen Z that is, willing to pay more and the loyalty, and then you see a chain like Shein, right? It's fashion. Shein is like 3 times the H&M, the Zara, whatever. It's super cheap, fast fashion, very dubious production and supply chain. And still, it's the most sold, the most popular, the most TikToks, the most whatever brand among Gen Z. And again, it's not because they don't care, it's because it's cheap. And because it's diverse. So it's convenient, it's cheap, and there we go again. So it's not as clear cut as, okay, we do sustainable and then we'll just win and increase loyalty. And I think that's exactly the challenge in the boardrooms.
Perfect. Thank you very much. And how close are we to sustainability being a key measurement of company performance? Sorry.
I think we're very close in the sense that you can see a political push. The European Union is very strong at the moment in imposing all kinds of rules and regulations for disclosure of sustainability measurements for companies. It's not only the European Union. You see things, a lot of NGOs that are popping up, be it B Lab with a B Corp rating. You can see things like the carbon disclosure. So more and more companies willingly are disclosing their sustainability reporting. The issue here is that there is not one measurement, one tool. It's not like a financial auditing where the rules are the same everywhere and it makes it transparent. So today the issue is there's so many ways of measuring ESG, because of course it has the three letters. So it's environment, it's social, it's governance. Where do you focus? And that's what BLab focuses on as well. It's all three. How do you measure it? How do you, what is the importance, for example, of trying to mitigate instead of looking at the base output of CO2? So there's a lot of question marks, but even then, I would say that there's an increasing push of making this a law. And I will say two things. One is and I will actually peek it because I don't want to make a mistake. One is the CRD, it's a corporate social reporting directive. It's from the EU. It was sort of voluntary. It's now become, and it will become mandatory. As of 2023, 2024, more and more companies we have to join. So we're talking about 50,000 companies within the European Union who need to actually, by rule and regulation, report on their sustainability. We see that with the ISSB. That's another one. So what the ISSB does, it's trying to make a comprehensive consistent measuring. So a little bit like the financial auditing is a comprehensive, consistent global auditing of the sustainability. And again, they're going, they're very far in their process in trying to integrate all these other measurement systems. And with that integration, we will see a much more globalized approach to how you measure it. So when you take all these, reporting standards into account, we're moving towards, which is very complex, but we're moving towards a one unified measurement process. And I think we're very, very close to globally have to report your sustainability ESG performance, because it's part of your financial performance. It's also part of making the risks that we're looking into transparent, because there's huge risks. And that's how ESG was really born. It was trying to, for investors, trying to clarify and making it tangible what the risks are. And there are so many.
Excellent. Thank you. And how have you seen innovation in the food sector develop during your 15 years with Danone?
So I can say, how did I see it develop? I think, and this is overly simplified, so I don't, get my exact words in it. But when I started innovation, it was really all about, first, it was all about taste and texture and experience. It was just meeting the consumers with ever wider palette of taste, texture. We saw different cultures coming in, introducing people to different cultural experiences in food. So that was really about almost taking the consumer to an ever bigger choice, an ever more exciting world in food. Then instead of replacing, on top of that, we saw a lot of convenience. So on the go packaging that you could, eat on the street, making drinkable formats, also in the supply chain, in the delivery. So it was a lot about small convenience stores. So it was all about how do you get it to the consumer as fast as possible, as conveniently as possible, being found anytime, anywhere, basically, and being consumed anytime, anywhere. So it was all about this experience plus the entire convenience. Then we saw an ever greater call on health on top of it. So you saw that quite a lot of innovations were based on removing all the sugar. Sugar is still a big thing that's going on, but it definitely started a while ago. Removing all the artificials. All of a sudden, we were much more conscious about the artificial flavorings, or what have you not. So it was about, we want to have the experience and the convenience, but as natural as possible. So naturality was definitely one of those keywords. in innovation. And now on top of that, we will see a lot of sustainability topics. So, in my last job, I really worked out how do the traditional dairy brands, integrate plant-based, for example, or packaging. We see, now it's a question you will see in every single product, how much of the plastic is recycled that they use. So sustainability is definitely having this other layer on top of all the other that I mentioned. So it really goes from taste, texture, convenience, health, sustainability, where the last two are quite linked as well.
Perfect. Thank you. So that's the end of my questions, Kimberly.
Already?
I know, we got there. Time flies and you're having fun. So I'd like to thank you again for sharing your thoughts and insights.
It was a pleasure.
Being so open with your answers. So thank you very much. I appreciate we could talk for hours on this topic.
Yes, definitely. Yes.
I think what's really clear is the importance of innovation and sustainability in the industry. Those companies that survive and grow will do so because they're capable of change. And with innovation comes opportunity, as you've sort of mentioned, and you can grow and expand into new markets. So exciting future, both for the industry, and I'm excited to see what the future holds for yourself as well, Kimberly.
Yes.
So thank you, everyone. We hope you've enjoyed listening to this episode of Connect the Dots, and we look forward to seeing you again. And please make sure, if you're not already, that you've checked out our website, www.connectsearch.com, and that you're following Connect Search on LinkedIn for further industry insights. Thank you.